I am the founder and CEO of an entertainment lighting and installation company that's been in business for 40 years with a top-line revenue of $20 million and 42 full-time employees. My question is, how can I successfully transfer my business to my daughter while preserving my estate and considering my other 2 children who are not involved in the business?
A lot of different variables there, brother. So is she operating with you now?
Yep, she's been here about 2 years, and she's doing fantastic.
Okay, so we got leadership and succession plan kind of in mind and heading off. What are the other 2 kids doing, and what's their status relationally?
Great. I mean, they're just in different fields. One of them is in IT, and the other one has her own jewelry business, and they're both doing great and very happy. So,
Okay. And do you have other assets?
We do. Our whole estate, I think, including our business, is $22 million, and I think it's $10 million. The business is estimated at about $10 million and $12 million in a mix of real estate and cash.
Okay. So the business is estimated at $10 million, and then there's $12 million of other stuff.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if you do, are you married?
Yep. My wife is part owner. We share the ownership.
Yeah. Okay. Have you been working on estate planning from a tax perspective with an estate planner yet?
So not really. We've talked to some estate planners. They've suggested things like idiots, and we looked at that.
You don't need any of that.
Okay.
Your estate's not big enough.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, today you have $14 million, 13.99, and your wife has 13.99. So you've got $28 million you can transfer with zero federal estate tax between the 2 of you with a simple AB marital trust, it's called. It's a very simple transaction. Now, when you get above today $28 million, then you've got a problem. So is your business growing?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 63.
Are you healthy?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to get into a whole bunch of weeds here. You ready for the weed eater? Okay.
Before you go to the weed eater, I think I might have misspoke. We do have a revocable trust set up that's pretty current right now.
Okay. Have you moved the business into the trust yet?
Yes.
Okay. So
the real estate and the business is in the trust.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
So you've already frozen that from an estate planning standpoint. So you're not going to have an estate tax issue.
Right. We have the cash in there too, like any extra cash.
You're not going to have an estate tax issue because you've already moved it, and if it grows beyond $28 million, it doesn't matter the value of the real estate or the value of the other. The only thing that you'll pay taxes on is on the basis, and there's no taxes on the basis because it's under $28 million, assuming you've done a simple marital trust to go with your revocable trust. So the marital trust is that your $14 million, if you die before your wife, is left to her in trust upon your death. Her $14 million she can leave to the kids, and then she can leave your $14 million to the kids upon her death. In the meantime, she can live off of the $14 million that was in your trust. So that's a simple AB trust. That's how that works, okay? Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Okay. Then, on top of that, if the stock of the LLC and the ownership of the real estate has moved into a trust, the value at the time you moved it into the trust is frozen in time forever on the irrevocable trust, which keeps, in other words, if the real estate goes up in value or the business goes up in value to breach that $28 million, it doesn't matter because it doesn't count. It's not in your estate anymore. You've already moved it out of your estate. I moved 99% of Ramsey out of my name 16 years ago for that reason.
Okay. I'm in a revocable trust right now. You have an irrevocable trust?
Well, I have a children's trust set up that owns Ramsey.
Okay.
99%. I own 1%. I own the voting stock.
Yeah. That's smart. One of the lawyers told me to split off 4 voting shares, and then I can set that to my daughter that's in the business, and then she could control it when the time comes.
Yeah. Then that brings you to the other question that you guys have to answer as a family, and you can answer this one of 2 ways. I have a friend who is Gen 2. He's in his late 50s, and the company's probably worth $50 million or maybe 100, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly, but it's doing really well. And his dad dictated that unless you work in the business, you don't inherit any of the business.
Okay.
So his brother, who's not in the business, has no ownership in it after his dad passed.
Okay.
I, on the other hand, did it the other way. I left it to my 3 kids to own it, regardless of whether they work here. And then to the grandkids to own it, regardless of whether they work here. So there's 2 different hats they wear. They wear an owner hat, and then there's the leadership team hat that takes direction from the 3 owners.
Gotcha.
And so when I'm gone, the Gen 2 of the three Gen 2 Ramseys will dictate to the leadership team how Ramsey is run. And at this stage of the game, one of them is Daniel, and he's the president. So he works for his 2 sisters and him as an entity. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then and as there are profits, they'll be distributed to the owners of the business beyond the compensation packages for the people that work here. So, for instance, your daughter could get a percentage of profits in the future as the CEO when you're gone, and then the profits that are left over after she gets compensated for her CEO package could be distributed to the three ways.
Right. Yeah, we have it set up third, and a third right now in the trust.
Or you could leave the business to her and the real estate and other stuff to the other 2.
Right.
You happen to have numbers that allow that.
Okay. Do you think it would be safer as far as just relationally between the kids if we kept them separate from, my daughter just owning the business and the other 2 just owning other or inheriting other parts of the estate? So it's not, I'm just concerned that possibly, my daughter might want to.
I'm going to sit and talk to them about it and go, listen, here's the thing. Because the 2 that don't work there could gang up on the one that owns it and works there.
Right. That's what I was concerned about. Like if they have different thoughts about, I'd like to get, like to do different things with business or the.
Well, now the operation of the business is not up to the owners. The owners are picking up only major decisions of the business, including giving, direction to the CEO.
Right.
But the CEO doesn't have to come and ask them whether they're going to hire somebody or whether they're going to buy a piece of equipment. They run the business.
Right. But I was just thinking more if they wanted to get their share out just for whatever reason and they're putting pressure on it. And
you can't, you got to dictate exit strategies on that and part of the trust. If you're going to, ours aren't allowed to take theirs, period.
Okay.
You can't take it. The only thing you could do is get thrown out. That's it. But you can't liquidate your share at Ramsey because we don't own it. We manage it for God. It's not ours. And so that's the way we're looking at it. So but if you're going to allow them to sell their share, then you need to put terms on it under which one of them could buy the other one out, or can an outsider buy or not, all that kind of stuff you got to get into. But you happen to have $10 million worth of business and $12 million worth of the other. If your daughter that got the business and the other 2 got $6 million or some change each, that's not unfair.
Right. Yeah.
If you wanted to go that way, it happens to be with your numbers. Or you could adopt my friend's thing and go, if you don't work inside the business, you don't get to own it.
Mm.
That's not unfair. It's not unethical. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Right.
I chose not to do it that way just because of the way I've worked it through. But I don't have a big problem with that. That's not a bad idea because at least they're not sitting. And the other thing you can do is extrapolate this out $60 million and 25 years and another generation and try to anticipate who's going to misbehave then.
Right.
And then that kind of tells you what your weak spots are. If you magnify this thing, it kind of points out what the weaknesses of your system are. Because if you got it, the only way it works is if the 3 get along perfectly. Well, that doesn't work for the next gen because there might be 19.
Right. In
Gen 3. In my case, there's 8 in Gen 3 already. And that's supposedly all that we're getting. But
yeah.
But anyway, you follow. Yeah. So, it's a great discussion, and you're very wise to have it ahead of time. There's not a right or a wrong. The only wrong is not dealing with it now.
Right. I have other thoughts. Like if I was to, how do you set out a timeline? Like for me to transfer it over to like her running the business, like being the GM in my seat, and then me being out of it. Like, do you go by your energy level and like, I
go by her energy and competence level. I stage gate it off of their competence.
Okay.
And as long as they are competent, we can move them up and put more weight on their shoulders, but they have to have the muscles and the shoulders to hold it. and
Yeah.
then I'll put a little more weight on, and then we'll put a little more weight on, a little more weight on. So 3.5 years ago, we moved Daniel in the president's office, and he and I are co-running the business 50-50. But I've dialed back during that 3 years, and it's no longer 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as day-to-day in the operations as I was 3.5 years ago. But then so it's gradually, and as long as he carries it, I'm going to continue to gradually click it off. Not because I don't want to do it, but because I've got to be able to turn it over to him. I've got to be able to turn it over to them, to the next gen. And I've got to build in them the character and the intellectual strength and spiritual strength to carry a load this heavy.
Right. Yeah. So you kind of go by their readiness,
Exactly.
give out the responsibility as they are able to take it.
Exactly, because there's two things that don't bless your kids or the business. Thing one is if you give them something to run before they're competent, well, that hurts everybody, including them. And thing two is when they are competent, you don't give it to them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That hurts everybody involved because you end up with a guy I talked to the other day, he's 85, his son's 65, and the old man's still running the freaking place.
Yeah.
He's basically neutered his own kid.
Gotcha, yeah.
He's 65 years old. He's never run anything. My God. You know? I mean, that's pitiful.
Yeah.
And so all that is ego. And so he should have turned that stinking thing over 20 years ago is what he should have done when the kid was in his 40s and the old man was in his 60s. And then they had a good, steady flow of conversation. And now what you've got is all this weird nepotism garbage going on, and I don't think the business is going to make it. I think they're going to fail because of their personal weaknesses. But that's what you're facing is those kinds of decisions. But you're brilliant, Todd, for being proactive in this and making the decisions. There's not really a wrong decision, except giving it to them too soon or too late by not being proactive. There's not a wrong decision whether you make them run it together, or you split it off and let her have it, and you split the other assets off to the other way. In our case, Sharon got nothing out of the business when I die. The kids get it that day. The next Gen 2 gets it. Sharon's got other assets to live on while she's alive, plenty of them. So, and she doesn't continue to run this. And so that sets her up. And since all of my estate planning is presupposed on I die first, I am watching over my shoulder. I can just tell you that. So that's fun stuff. Hey, guys, this is great. Great discussion, Todd.